Hello everyone and welcome back to Agent Nagash. Really excited today because my Seraphon army boxes have arrived, so can't wait to get cracking with them, but that's not the reason for today's video. Just wanted to share that with you because, and in this video we are going to be doing my review on the Warhammer Fest 2023. So the reason why I thought I'd do this video is essentially a couple of things. So I haven't done a review on a Warhammer community article for a while, especially on something as big as a Warhammer reveal, particularly Warhammer Fest. What a better way to start getting back into doing those sorts of videos. And the other thing as well is that I haven't read through this article yet, or articles should I say. I haven't actually seen everything there is that's been revealed, but I've seen quite a few things. It's all been posted all over social media, of course. It's impossible to avoid spoilers these days, but you know, we'll get excited by it, and because of that, it's made me want to do this video. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below on what you think about the reveals today. And also, if this is your first time watching any of the reveals from today, I hope you're excited as I am as we go through this. And yeah, so let's get on with it. And the first thing we are going to be looking at is going to be the Leviathan box set. So it says that the epic launch box for the new edition of Warhammer 40,000 has been revealed, and it's a banger. Warhammer 40,000 Leviathan contains two huge all-new armies for Space Marines and the Tyranids, plus a bounty of extras. So let's check it out. And what I will say as we're going through this, obviously I predominantly focus on Age of Sigmar on this channel, and I will be doing that in this video as that is what I'm mostly interested in. But what I will add is that I am really excited by the new Tyranid release because I used to collect them as a kid. I didn't used to play the game, I didn't understand the game, but I used to love the idea of essentially space bugs, and Tyranids were 100% back then my favourite 40k army, so I'm really excited to see them getting a new release here. However, because I mainly focus on Age of Sigmar, I will be reading through all these articles, but if I get a bit bored while I'm a couple of paragraphs into the Space Marines, I maybe will skip the rest. I do like Space Marines, but you know, otherwise I may be here all day. However, we will be talking a lot about the Tyranids, so I'm very excited. Absolutely love Tyranids, and it's one of the things similar to the Seraphon boxes, like I mentioned, really excited about, is that as an army that I haven't collected since I was a kid, and because I'm almost just excited by the Tyranids, not quite, but almost just excited by the Tyranids, I would be tempted to collect Tyranids as well. So I'm very excited to see what we're going to have in this box set and everything that comes with it and all the information we're going to learn in this article. So what it first says is if you missed the live unboxing of the Twitch, which I certainly did do, or just want to review this again, you can watch it here. Otherwise, read on for all the juicy details. Okay, so that was the Twitch. So what's a better way to see what's in the box other than seeing the video? So let's see what it's all about. So first things first, it's coming out in June, so that's only a month away, but usually these sort of things come out at the end of the month, so anywhere until up about 8 weeks away maybe, but it could be probably about halfway through the month, hopefully, so not long at all to wait, and to be honest, I've got such a backlog anyway, I don't mind waiting on that. Also, from first impressions, it looks like it's an incredibly heavy box that we have got here, not complaining at all, but just so many sprues. I think it said there was the 13 sprues. You've got a massive rule book in there as well. You're going to have, presumably from how the marketing works, they tell you this is everything you need to get started in 40k, but to be fair, it probably is. You're probably going to have enough to work on there for a long time, presumably you like either of the armies. But yeah, so that is cool. We've got a better picture here of everything. You can see that it's just a huge amount of models. This, again, I don't know the name, so I will read everything just so I don't mispronounce things. But, you know, this guy is huge. That looks like a big critter. And you've also got things like a new looking dreadnought and all those sorts of cool stuff. So, let's see what it says. As the name suggests, Leviathan is an absolutely gigantic box packed to the brim with miniatures, books and more. When you lift the lid, you'll find stacks of sprues containing two armies full of gorgeous new miniatures. Beneath that, you'll find a massive Leviathan book and chapter approved Leviathan mission deck and a construction booklet. So yeah, pretty standard stuff. You get the core rules, you get the chapter approved, which I believe, because I don't really play 40k. I love the mods, don't really play it, but I believe chapter approved essentially is like the General's Handbook. So you get the new General's Handbook in there. If that is true, then that's quite nice. It'd be nice if like the new box sets from Age of Sigmar came with the latest General's Handbook as well. But yeah, so you're going to get absolutely swamped with stuff in this box. Like, it's not one of these things where, unless you're trying to build specific lists or something, I wouldn't say like, you know, they'll probably do some sort of bundle on their websites, which is like, you know, a Space Marine bundle and a Tyranid bundle, where it'd be like the Leviathan box plus a combat patrol box, etc, etc. But this will be more than enough to get you started with that. So what's in the box? So 25 Space Marine miniatures, 47 Tyranid miniatures, exclusive Warhammer 40,000 Leviathan rulebook, chapter approved Leviathan mission deck, and Space Marine transfer sheets. And also, just to say, going back to what I said about General's Handbook, obviously that's not the case here. With the chapter approved, it's just a deck. But, you know, so a little bit sad, but maybe that's still quite good. Like I said, I don't play 40k. The miniatures are divided into 25 elite battle-hardened Space Marines, the Imperium Ultimates Defenders, against the innumerable horrors and seething swarms of 47 ravenous Tyranids that desire nothing more than to consume all the biomass in the galaxy. Let's take a closer look at each army. The Space Marines are the Emperor's Angels of Death, vengeful warriors who have sworn an oath to protect the beleaguered Imperium from all assailants. As the jaws of High Fleet Leviathan close on the Galactic West, they've got their work cut out for them and are deploying new units to combat the Tyranid threats. So the first thing is Captain in Terminator armor. So I saw that they've got updated Terminator models. Very cool. Nice to see they're coming back. Nice base as well. Obviously very heavily themed around going against the Tyranids, which I think for most people is fine. Obviously, if you've got a specific where you've based your army, and especially if you're fighting against another army, your thematic way how you've themed your army essentially, it could be a bit annoying, but you know, I would just see that as something you can replace. And it's a cool base you've got for something else. I don't think there'd be too much issue. I think it's nicer to have a scenic base like that. They're not, because if you really didn't want to, you could just remove the scenic base and give it an other base. So yeah, that's not a problem. But I think that's pretty cool anyway. So a storied and stalwart warrior protected by a scarred suit of tactical dreadnought armor. This captain is resilient commander who excels at leading Terminator strike forces deep into enemy lines. Is that not tactical Terminator armor? Unless I've missing the law there, but I presume it's the Terminator captain, so he would have Terminator armor. Anyway, yeah, it's cool. Like I say, the base is really cool as well. And then you got the Librarian in Terminator armor. So Librarians are the battle psychers of the Space Marines, smiting foes with bolts of witchfire and manipulating the Imperium to shield their allies. Encased in Terminator armor, he's one of the most durable psychers available to Space Marine forces. Yeah, I can imagine that's a very tough enough to crack. And then you've got an Apothecary Biologist, or Biologist, however you pronounce these words. I'm severely dyslexic, so I will be butchering all the words during this, but I do apologise. So, understand your enemy, no matter how vile, is the key to defeating them. Thanks to his mighty Gravis armour, the Apothecary Biologist can advance through withering enemy fire to take samples of enemy biomatter with his Vivis Spectrum. Again, no idea. Turn his foes biologically against... Okay, so maybe he might work something like he will have to kill something, but I imagine he's not the most combat guy, or should we say most offensive guy in the game, so he might not be killing too many things himself. Maybe when something in your army kills a Tyranid unit, or ideally just an enemy unit, so then that means when you're playing against obviously other races, it's important, because otherwise it won't work against them. But anyway, essentially when you kill an enemy unit, maybe he then gives a buff to the rest of your army because he's understood how their their bioengineering works, etc. So yeah, I think that's quite cool. That's how it works in the game. And then you got a lieutenant in Phobos armor. So wielding a combi weapon and 2 combat blades, this Phobos armoured lieutenant can infiltrate ahead of the main Space Marine force, sowing discord amongst his enemies and disrupting their battle line. So I imagine that is a guy who you set up in Deep Strike or something like that, and he comes onto the board, or he teleports on, or you set him up behind enemy lines, and if he's within range of an enemy unit, he can potentially disrupt them in ways of maybe making not be able to move for a turn, shoot for a turn, something like that. Could be quite cool. And then you've got the Stern Guard veteran squad. So, renowned for their unerring proficiency with bolt weapons, Stern Guard veterans are fearsome combatants drawn from the chapter's first company and issued with special ammunition designed to combat the Tyranid threat. So, good again, if you're going against Tyranids, maybe one of those things where if you're not going against Tyranids, not the best. So when you're playing in the meta, in a tournament, you can't guarantee you fight Tyranids, etc. So, might not be seeing them all the time. Might be a bit like some of the Stormcast models that came out during Soul Wars, which are, I think they were, I can't remember the names of them, but the fancy crossbow-looking Soul Wars Stormcast that were like only good against Nighthaunt, I think, which is like, oh, that's cool, a narrative, but didn't really transfer into being good in the game. But hopefully I'm wrong on that. And then you've got the Terminator squad, which is probably what most people are excited by. So Terminators are the elite of the elite, veterans clad in hulking armour, wielding power fists, storm bolters, and devastating assault cannons, beamed into the thick of the action with a teleport homer. Few horrors in the galaxy can withstand their sledgehammer onslaught. So I do think Terminators are cool. Obviously they've been around for a long time, but when you just see things like, is it the Aggressors or there's something like that? I think the new Primaris models. I obviously I haven't seen them side by side, and I haven't looked into it too much. But just from the top of my head, Terminators just look like they would be tiny against them, which isn't a problem because it still means that they're an elite 5-man unit sort of thing. Where I think like Aggressors are 3-man units. Probably getting that wrong, but from what I can remember, the box art. So they still filled a different role, but when it's like Terminators are the most devastating thing in the Space Marine's arsenal, or a Space Marine can become, it's very much like, like I said, I don't know the lore, but they're not as big or as bulky as the other guys, so they look smaller and inferior to me, in my personal opinion, but it's nice to see them get new models. Okay, and then we've got the Inferno squad, so the Flamethrower Space Marines, which look fantastic against Tyranids. So when you're faced with innumerable hordes of Xenos, an Infernal Squad is the perfect tool, armed with Spire Blasters that spit gouts of incandescent flame. They purge their foes with fiery wrath. So, yep, I can imagine it's going to be, well, I don't know, I suppose in Warhammer 40,000 you used to, I know you don't have any more, but you used to have those templates for like flame weapons and stuff, but I presume so now it's going to be a case of, for some things they just seem like this as well, if it's like a flame weapon. Essentially, for how many models are in range of, I don't know, 6 inches of them, 8 inches of them, or something like that. And then that's how many attacks they get, something like that. But obviously, against Tyranids, could be very good, unless you're going against lots and lots of the big Tyranids. But their book now might work for you to take loads and loads of little ones, like exclusively, and that's like the main way to play it, for all I know. And then obviously that'd be good. But obviously, if they're taking just like really big things, then would be so good against the Tyranids, unless I'm wrong and the rules are different, but just my quick analysis thoughts. And then you have the Ballistus Dreadnought, I think that's how it's pronounced. So a new looking Dreadnought, so that's cool there. I think it's because it's got the rocket launch essentially on its arm, from what I remember as it being different to the other ones. So the Ballistus Dreadnought, it's a fearsome weapon platform armed with a versatile missile launcher and a devastating laser cannon, the perfect counter to heavy armoured enemy monsters and tanks. And then, so that's cool, obviously. I mean, heavily armoured enemy monsters, imagine some of the Tyranids are heavily armoured, but obviously it's good against probably most things in 40k. And then going on to the more exciting thing is the Tyranids. So, Tyranids are a ferocious alien swarm invading the galaxy from beyond the void. Guided by the hive mind, they have one terrible purpose: to devour every last shred of biomass, reconstructing it into even more powerful biomorphs and repeating the nightmarish cycle anew on the next world in their path. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really do like the Tyranids. It's just the creativity with them, with the whole sort of thing, the hive mind. And when it goes to fight against the planet, if the planet has very high, I don't know, like wall defenses around its cities, and the Tyranids just, well, the hive mind sends swarms of Tyranids that just like hit against the walls of the city like water on rock, it will then learn from that and then just send flying Tyranids. So where the inhabitants of that planet be like, oh, we can beat these alien invaders, and then the next day there's literally death from above coming down, descending on them and killing all of them, then I think that's pretty damn cool, just how quickly the hive mind can adapt. This is a lovely new model, really, really like this guy. So the Winged Tyranid Prime is a hideous alpha beast that combines strength with agility, swooping above the battlefield and identifying targets to descend upon and tear apart with razor sharp talons. So yeah, kind of what I just said there about, imagine maybe this guy came about because the Tyranids fighting a planet with loads of high walls. But no, I think that is very cool. I think when it comes to Tyranid names, I think that they're from the perspective of the Imperium, aren't they? I might be wrong on that. If I am wrong, let me know. But I feel like the name's like, Winged Tyranid Prime is not something that the Tyranid hive mind came up with itself. I believe that is something along the lines of that's what people who are sent to study the Tyranids would come up. It's like a Tyranid Prime, it's a winged one, etc. But let me know if I'm wrong on that. But I think that's why they have like very sort of like scientific names. And then you have the Neuro Tyrant. So this thing I'm a big fan on. I did like the brain looking Tyranids. I thought they're really cool. How they affect the they have I think they do lots of stuff against enemy psykers or something, or how they can like create like shadows in the warp and stuff like that. I think that's really, really cool, and like the connection to the hive mind. So it says, radiating ahead of every Tyranid hive fleet, it's a terrifying silence known as the shadow in the warp, a psychic phenomenon that blocks a warp-based communications during invasions. The Neuro Tyrant acts as a focusing node for this strange power, liquefying the minds of its prey and orchestrates hordes of Tyranids to victory. Yeah, so just what I said, but in a better way. Like, that's really, really cool, and I like that sort of. I think I like it, that sort of like psychic warfare, because it's pretty creepy. Like, don't get me wrong, if this thing came running at you with its claws, or should I say flying towards its claws, that would be terrifying. But the fact that this thing can just liquefy your brain is even more sinister, in my opinion. And then on the complete other end of that scale, you have a massive bulking Tyranid called the Screamer Killer, which sounds a little bit like an orky name to me, like, Screamer Killer, just because it rhymes at the end, maybe, I don't know. But the living battering ram gnome, as Carnifexes, come in many shapes and sizes, but the Screamer Killer is the most infamous adaptation and the biggest, named after the sinister howl emitted as it unleashes their bioplasma blast. Screamer Killers are unstoppable shock creatures. Okay, so that kind of makes sense to me now. Like, I thought that's a bit of a, all these things are like very scientific name, and then that thing is just like Screamer Killer. So yep, that makes sense to me. That generally looks quite cool. Like I said, I saw it there and I thought it looked quite big. And then when you see it going back all the way back up to the top there, I mean, again, it's not a huge picture that you guys can see, but, it is the same size as the Dreadnought, if not a bit taller. So that's cool to see. Oh yeah, probably the same sort of size as the Carnifex, but just better posed, etc. Because it's a new model up in size. These things are really cool. So Von Orion's Leapers, so like new Lictor models, but as a unit, so slightly different. So before the main High Fleet force lands, vanguard organisms like Von Orion's Leapers often embed themselves on the High Fleet's target planet. These ambush hunters lie in wait, avoiding detection until they can do as much damage as possible. So I think they're really cool. Really, really nice to see. Wonder why they're called Von Orion's Leapers. Imagine it was Von Orion who discovered that type of Tyranid Lictor, presumably. But I really love what they could be doing in the game, the stealth that they can add as well. You've got little things like I don't know, like, in the fluff I imagine in my head as well, you've got the lieutenant here who sort of like infiltrates the enemy lines or that sort of thing, but he's going to try and infiltrate it where he's got these things knocking around doing exactly the same thing. Very, very scary stuff, like in jungle sort of themes and stuff. I can imagine them be looking really, really cool. So yeah, love what I'm seeing so far. And then you've got the Termagants, however it's pronounced. sort of like the backbone of the army. So huge shifting swarms of termagants are the mainstay of many Tyranid invasions. Force armed with the ranged bioorganic weapons, these disgusting beasts rush forward to erode their enemy defenses through sheer weight of numbers. So yeah, I think they're really, really quite cool. Just so much better than they used to be. They used to look so monopose, and they probably were monopose, and just so much just like, stuck and awkward sizing together. I feel like they look a lot better now. They're not my favourite of the small ones. My favourite ones are, I don't know what they're called, the ones with the claws and everything. I think the combat ones look better, but for all I know, these ones are better in the game. But they are definitely a nicer reimagination of the classic models, and I think we were shown one of them a little while ago anyway. So that's not exactly new, but it's nice to see like those. I think they're called, are they Ripper Swarms? See new ones of those as well. And then these ones are Neurogaunts. So I don't think they are. I'm pretty sure these are not the remake of, like I said, the ones with the big claws. Can't remember their names. But they're just a new unit because they do look severely different. So Neurogaunts are a variant. Neurogaunts are a variant strain of Gaunt that share a symbiotic relationship with a parasitic neurocyte that clings to their back. Their primary purpose is to protect the powerful Symphis creature that coordinates the Tyranid invasion, and they will sacrifice themselves in droves to fulfill this task. So that's cool. So essentially they have like a little bug on the back of them that makes them be able to communicate with the hive mind better. And I like it how they are literally just seen as drones. I know like a lot of the Gorn types, Tyranids, if I'm pronouncing that right, essentially are just that. They are just like, the worker ants to protect the queen, etc. But these are literally just drones. They will just send themselves to die instantly without thought, just to make sure that the plan of the hive mind goes ahead, which I imagine all Tyranids do, but these ones do to an exceptional level. And then you have the Barb Gaunts. So, a strange fusion of Gaunt, Biocannon, and Ganglioparasite that enslaves the two Barb Gaunts are living audience that shower targets with projectiles that explode into shards of serrated chitin. Basically, they're Tyranids with mortars on their arms, essentially, is the English way to say that. What I will say about that is they're probably my least favourite model I've seen from the Tyranid side so far, because I feel like they've just got so much going on, these ones. Well, actually, I'd say like I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. But these, I don't think they're as cool. I feel like they're just a bit too static. I get it. They are mortar teams, so they are going to be static, but maybe you could have had one, looking like it's running to get them to position, or at least walking or something, not all just with their heads down, with the sort of like, arm pointing up. It's just a little bit generic. Like, it almost looks like there's only two ways these are modelled. I might be wrong when you see them in person, but I just think they're still nice, but they're not particularly interesting. And then you have the Psychophage, however you say that. So it says the hive mind has imbued this particular biomorph with a hunger for enemy psyches. Its digestive tract somehow able to metabolize psychic life forms into Psychochorus ash, with it projects it forward into blistering torrents. Again, apologies about me mispronouncing the words here. I mean, like, Tyranid names and ways to describe Tyranids are really not nice for dyslexic people, or like, why can't you just write that in a more plain English way for me to understand, please? But that aside, I'm not really a fan of this one either. I think, like, not the same reason that these guys, but different reasons. I just feel like that just looks a bit too cartoony. Maybe I change my mind when I see it in person as well, but it just looks a bit like goofy, I think, for that. And I thought so when you saw the trailer for 10th edition that came out about a month ago now or something. We saw these on there, and I thought they didn't look particularly great, to be honest. And I didn't know if they were a new model or anything, but they are a new model. I mean, they're okay. Like, for example, they come in the starter box, which I will probably get at some point. So I will have it and I'll build it and it'll probably be fine, but I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it, I would say, just because I just think it looks a bit too goofy, to be honest. But it's still a very nice collection there. And then, of course, you get yourself the new book and everything like that, new rules. There is a novel coming out with it, which they often do, Games Workshop with their big boxes. And then you've got a road map here as well, which says summer 2023. You have the Leviathan box coming out. Autumn, you have the new Codex of the Tyranids and Space Marines. I don't know why they just don't drop it at the same time. The book, it's the same thing they're doing with Age of Sigmar now. It's quite annoying. And then you've got the... Well, I say that. I mean, like, the Age of Sigmar army boxes that you get do have the battle tomes for those armies in it. So, it's not... Just bring it at the same time. And then winter, you've got for Adeptus Mechanicus and Necrons Codexes. That's good. And then spring 2024, so a whole year away, you have got Codex Dark Angels, Codex Orcs, Codex Adeptus Custodes, Codex Tower Empire, and Codex Chaos Space Marines. But when I kind of go, all the way a year from now, I do think that is a good thing that they are showing us this, because a lot of the time we've complained in the past where, you just don't get given enough notice. I think it's nice to see this much notice because, for example, if I was going, I kind of like the idea of starting I don't know, shall we say, an Adeptus Mechanicus army, I'd read this and I'd go, you know what, I'm just going to wait a few months until winter and then start with a new book, with a new codex, because then I know I'm going to get at least a year. You should do at least a year out of that book, whereas now I'd be like, I don't really want to start the army because it's getting a new book coming out. It's the same with the Tyranids and Space Marines. It's a better example to say with them, but obviously we know they're getting new stuff anyway. So yeah, I do think it's good to get that notice, because I feel like the reason why they didn't used to give that notice was literally just because they knew that people wouldn't buy those models or the books if they knew they were getting updated. So it's good that they give you that notice now from Games Workshop. So that is the Leviathan box set. So very, very cool to see there. Lots to go into. And obviously, like, you could talk more about speculating about every single thing, but I think that I just wanted to do an overall on that, and I think I've done that. So there you go. Of course, you can go on the Warhammer community to look at all yourself. So let's see what the next thing is. Okay, so it looks like the next thing... Okay, there's a lot more on Leviathan. What I'll be honest with you is that we'll skim through the next ones, because I've reviewed Leviathan now for quite a few minutes. So, of course, very exciting stuff. I don't want this all to be about Leviathan like I do. I do prominently do Age of Sigmar content on this channel, so I don't want to focus it all on 40k. But I think, okay, so there's a video there. So this is all about the Space Marine side, I see. So we'll have a quick look through here. Yeah, so I mean, like, again, if you love these models, you'll want to look at them in more detail. You can do that on the website, but I'm just having a quick skim through because I've already seen them. Yeah, they're cool, but kind of my opinions on Space Marine. I think Space Marines are cool, right? I will say that I think they are cool, but also it's a bit like they all look the same. But it's nice to see that. It's nice to see flamethrower ones. They are cool, but I don't need to see them over and over and over again, especially Ultra. I mean, they're just so boring and blue, aren't they? But anyway, let's see the trailer.
A crusade to cleanse the stars. Our forces engage the remnants of Leviathan. Soon, their foulness will be but a memory.
So, as much as I was just saying Space Marines all look the same and they're a little bit boring, I mean, I'll be honest, that did give me a little bit of goosebumps seeing that, because I think they did such a good job on the trailer for 10th. I think this is 10th edition, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's 10th edition. For the trailer of 10th edition, where you saw little clips there, and I think it's nice that they matched it up with the actual pictures of the models. Thought it was really cool. And like, look, Space Marines are cool because they are like the last. Well, they're not the last offenders, obviously, but they are super weapon, if you like, against the endless horrors out there in the galaxy. Because what I love about 40k is it isn't, as much as I like, obviously, like I say, like Age of Sigmar is my favourite. But what I like about 40k and what I like about 40k in a different way is that, unlike Age of Sigmar, where it is just a fantasy universe, etc., 40k is our universe, but just at that year in the future, which I think is really cool. So then you can see like how far we've come or how far we've fallen as a race, shall we say, by that point in our timeline. And I think it's really cool to see that, you know, Space Marines are our super weapon against, like I said, those endless horrors out there. And the Tyranids by far have to be the most horrific. Like, I know you've got things like Chaos Demons, etc., and everything like that, but the Tyranids are just, nobody understands them. And you can say that, you know, nobody really understands, you know, Chaos, you know, to the point where they know exactly how it works 100%, and the history behind it. But, you know, the Tyranids, you just don't know. It's just like, what, you don't know how many there are. And when you see these horrendous high fleets, and that's just the start, like, you don't know how far it stretches back. That's what scares you the most, is the unknown. So just to see, like, you know, mankind's super weapon go against them and get torn apart by this horror, it's insane. Like, you know, like a Space Marine, it's kind of along the lines of, I think, what have they got, like 3 lungs and 2 hearts or something? Again, someone's probably correct me, but they're basically as armoured as a car, if not more like a tank. Or a Humvee is probably more of a close thing like that. Maybe more a tank, depending on if you're Terminators or not. But just to see like something like that we've come up with get torn apart by a space bug is horrendous. So yeah, view of the Space Marines, without looking any more into them, because yeah, they're cool. But you know, we've done the Space Marine bit. I've said enough words about them. The Tyranids, more excitingly though, have got a video. So let's. So very cool there. Like I said, I really do like these Tyranid models. Even the ones that I don't like as much, like let's just get down to the ones I don't like. Shall we say, like, you know, these sort of ones and this guy, I still like them. I just feel like because I really like the other ones, I think they're quite stunning. They just fail in comparison, but they're still cool. So yeah. Again, I'm not really going to go into all the rules and stuff because I don't play 40k. I have played a couple games in the past and I do want to get into it, essentially, especially with new Tyranid release. But because I don't actually play it, like I said, I'm just actually getting back into Age of Sigmar, let alone 40k. I don't want to give reviews on the rules because I have no idea. I presume they're good because they put them in the starter box and they want you to buy them. But yeah, really, really nice models, really, really nice close-ups here that we can get as well, and you can check up on their website as well. I just feel like this is such a nicely detailed model as well, like how the wings are folded and everything. Coming by someone who has painted a lot of like crypt flares and vargheists and seeing how their wings fold up and stuff, just seeing like how the newer models look in comparison is just huge. Yeah, love these guys. Kind of look like they're spitting out their food or being sick, but I know that's just part of the tentacles and that's part of the thing. But I love the creepy look to them. And then yeah, so very, very excited by this release coming out, and I look forward to getting it one day, essentially. And a good way for me to update my rules as well, because you get the new rule book, etc. And then like if I had time, I hadn't already been reviewing this for half an hour or something, God knows how long it's been, I would read more into it, but I'll do that at a later date if you guys would like me to. So going on to something that is not 40k and something that is close to my heart as well, is we'll look at the Middle Earth stuff, we'll go to the Age of Sigmar at the end essentially, and that's just because it's just group all the Age of Sigmar at the end, so it's fine. Well, we'll look at it after this, but this is a fantastic new looking model that's coming out for Lord of the Rings Middle Earth Strategy Battle game, and I do play the Middle Earth Strategy Battle game, or I'm getting into it, but I don't actually follow like the latest updates in the rules, but from what I understood from people, I think they were expecting a bit more from this reveal from Games Workshop, which is sad if that is the case and they didn't get it. But what I will say is this model is stunning. Like, Games Workshop, what they do at least do for a Middle Earth Strategy Battle game is come up with really nice collector models, and this is one of the most ironic scenes from the films, and to have that modelled in your own way and just like, really nicely detailed. I would have liked it if they had like a bugs crawling around on the shoulders of the hobbits, just because when I was watching this as a child, that's one of the things that stayed in my mind and scarred in my memory, was seeing all the creepy crawlies that came out from the roots of the tree while the Nazgul was there. So to see them climbing all over them would have been fantastic, just to bring back that horrific memory for me. But no, that's really, really nice and cool. It's cool that you can see that you can take them off the base and use them in the game. Really, really nice. I do want to make a Nazgul army as well, of having every single form of Nazgul you can get. I want to have that one day as like a collector's army, so I will be getting this at some point. Hopefully it's not too expensive, but it's sad if you were expecting more that there isn't anything else. And I think that's I don't need to read the rest of it because that's just my thoughts on it. So you've got that, and then all Age of Sigmar. Okay, so you've got some heresy stuff there, which I don't usually cover on the channel, and to be honest, I've covered a lot about 40k at the end already at the start, so we'll cover Age of Sigmar now, and then at the end, if we've got time, we'll go over that, but we probably won't. So let's look at the first thing. So Warhammer Underworlds, and this is Weird Hollow, so within the realm of beasts. So it says heads will roll as the cursed executioners of Nagash enter the Weird Hollow. So the sorcerer's energies emitting from the Weird Hollow has attracted the numerous warbands, the promise of power too tempting to resist. This congregation of champions has stirred something terrifying, a phantasmal procession that wields the dread blade Terminus. So let's see what that's all about. So yeah, they do look really cool. Obviously a Warhammer Underworlds warband, where I'm mainly a obviously Age of Sigmar tabletop big army sort of person. So would I really find much use of them in my army? Probably not, because the rules for these Underworld warbands, which are sad, come into Age of Sigmar, and they are very disappointing and sad, like I say. But could you use them as other models in your army and supplement them as so? Yes, absolutely. I'm sure you could find ways and means to do that. I don't think it'll be a problem. And also, Warhammer Underworlds, to be fair, I've played it quite a few times, and it's a good, fun game. It's an easy game to transport around. You can play a few games of that in the same time it takes you to play an Age of Sigmar game. You can probably play like at least 3 games of Warhammer Underworlds. It's good fun because you only have a few models and warbands. That means that if you want to collect, let's say, lots of armies, take your fancy in Age of Sigmar, but you're in a situation, or you choose to only collect like 1 or 2 armies, and you know that you can only do that, but you love like 10 of the armies out there. Warhammer Underworlds is a great way to be able to tap into that part of your love of the hobby, because you can just do 1 warband for each of those races, and that can be anywhere from like 3 to probably about 9 models or something in a warband, and that means that you can sort of scratch that itch you have for that army. And let's say you're the same with these Nighthorn, you go, oh, I'd love to do Nighthorn, but I've already got 1 or 2 armies too many, etc, etc. You can do this. Warhammer Underworlds is quite an easy game to learn as well, and it's a game that if you struggle to find time for games like I do, Warhammer Underworlds is a good way to get your games in things like weekdays and everything like that, in the evenings where you wouldn't be able to have a big game made because you don't have the time. You'd be able to have this. So yeah, very nice warband to see come out for Warhammer Underworlds. Again, not really going to go into the rules too much because I don't actively play it, so I don't want to give wrong information what I think about the rules, but I will look at the roadmap. So it says you've got the Weird Hello core box that came out. I think that's already came out, or came out last weekend or something like that, or pre-order last weekend. And then you've got these guys coming out in the summer. You then have a new Chaos Warband coming out in autumn, which, for God's sake, please do not be another unit of Marauders. Make Marauders, Force Slays Darkness, not an Underworlds Warband Games Workshop. And then you have a new Destruction Warband. That's cool. That seems quite fair, quite evenly spread out, because you got 1 for each of the Grand Alliances, because obviously you get forever Stormcast ones in the boxes. But maybe you're an Order player that's not Stormcast Eternals, and you would really like a warband for your army. Let me know that in the comments down below. But yeah, nice to see. Obviously, Agent Nagash here, always a fan to see my boys going out and having some fun and carrying my sword for me. Right, let's go on to the next one we're going to have a look at, which is staying with that theme. Let's have a look at Warcry, shall we? The other skirmish game for Age of Sigmar, and it's not really comparable to Warhammer because that is a tile-based game, so it involves completely different strategies. But again, essentially, a Age of Sigmar game where you just take a warband is what I mean. So it says the pious heroes and deluded cannibals come to blow over mismatching chivalry something codes in Warcry. Okay, so these are the new ghouls that I was talking about that are coming out. So why don't we watch the video? Okay, so Warcry Nightmare Quest. So 2, I have to say, quite cool looking war brands, because the Stormcast, I do like the look of Stormcast. If they go this, like, a bit like Space Marines, like there's so many of them that just look the same. These ones do look a bit different and do stand out a bit. Like the guy who's at the front leading the charge with Skullhelm does remind me of the Lord Rector, and we haven't seen Lord Rector obviously for a long time since that first box had come out. So let's see what they have to say about it. Obviously, the ghouls love them. So it says 2 warbands with very different opinions on virtues and hygiene set foot into the Gnarlwood in Warcry Nightmare Quest, the next expansion for Warcry. This box contains everything you need to embark on expeditions with the Quester Soulsworn or the Royal Beast Flares. So obviously the Royal Beast Flares are the coolest off the bat. But it says the Quester Soulsworn are unique among the Stormcast Eternals existing outside the traditional chamber structure. Okay, that's quite interesting. Each Soul Sworn is elected by Sigmar himself to join the ranks of the questers, giving them a chance to flex their muscles and express their heroic virtues to the fullest in the most dangerous missions. These persistent paladins are usually solo agents, wandering the realms to carry out the God King's will according to the visions and omens. On occasion, however, they will gather as a warband to undertake a particularly perilous task, such as cutting the heart of a ravenous ruin to keep the secrets of Talaxis from falling into the wrong hands. Okay, so that's quite interesting. So when it says outside the structure and they're sort of putting a special force, it kind of sounds like, special forces or something like that. It sounds a bit like, I imagine how the Death Watch work for 40k. Now, I don't know that for certain. I can just imagine that is how it works. Essentially ones from different... Well, okay. I suppose it would be, because I was going to say ones from different chambers, and then I was like, no, they're not from different chambers, it's different storm hosts. I think, okay, they're from different... Let me try and get my Stormcast lore back into my head. I think they're from what it says, different storm hosts, but from not in the chamber system. So you could have ones from the Hallowed Knights, and then ones from the Hammers of Sigmar, and then ones from the Excelsius and stuff. But then again, they're all painted the same, so maybe that's not the case. I don't know. I think that would be cooler if that was the case. Anyway, let's have a look at them so we can get onto the cooler ghouls. Yep, I think they are. I do like this guy here. He does remind me a little bit like Skeletor, to be honest with you, with a sort of like grinning skull face. But obviously, big fan of Skeletor here. Yeah, I think they're quite cool. It's basically just a warband Night Questers, really. So that's the Stormcast. Then these Gallian warriors must contend with the royal beast slayers. These courtiers, or cannibal courtiers, act as gamekeepers for their vampiric kings, stalking terrible beasts or innocent bystanders who are counting that threatened their noble king, employing grotesque awful hounds to track their supposed quarry. They return in glory with bloody pelts and trophies. This particular warband are out to wreck the Realm Shaper engines of the Gnarlwood, believing them to be the nest of horrific draconic magic, and will unleash a geomantic catastrophe if they succeed. Okay, so essentially these guys are having a delusion that they need to destroy the Seraphon temples. So as we can see here, thought there'd be one to scroll down. So they need to destroy that to stop the demonic and draconic energies that emit from it. So you can understand them, good guys, and then you've got the bad guys, Stormcast, trying to stop them do that. So these are cool. So you've got the leader here of that unit, then you've got the newer looking ghouls here. I think they're really, really nice, really quite cool. I think they're called like stalkers or trackers, these ones, and then these ones are called the essentially like the more men-at-arms type ones. I can't remember what they're called. But we have these ones, which I think are the Foot Squires, I think they're called, something like that, obviously playing on the Bretonian theme. Anyway, these ones I think are the coolest because they are, as far as I'm aware, they are just ghouls. But they're so deluded that they've mutated into hunting hounds. So they are the same originally, they just want to be humans, and then they've mutated, like as the flesh-eater courts do, they mutate by becoming cannibals and feeding off the delusion of the vampire that he gives off, the abhorrent Ghoul King. And these ones are taking it to such an extreme that they have turned into hunting hounds, which I think is really, really quite cool. And the design of them is really nice, how it fits that. So it says, the new box set includes a stack of Gersh terrain, including an overgrown and mysterious Realm Shaper engine from the Eye of Sotek, or Cortic, however that is pronounced, or Chotic, which can sunder the ground at the command of anyone who controls it. So that's quite cool. Obviously, that's how it plays in... I was trying to think in Age of Sigmar how that works, but obviously how that plays in Warcry. But Warcry, again, is really, really fun for the same reasons I was talking about with Underworlds. But it's just a bit more bigger than Underworlds, so you can take it a bit further. It's a nice step if you've been playing Warhammer Underworlds to get into Warhammer. And then you've seen Warcry knocking around and you think, oh, I love to Age of Sigmar, but that's just too big for me. Warcry is a nice step up from it. And you do get some nice terrain in this. So it says we're going... I say nice terrain. I mean, apart from the temple, though, just the rest looks like everything else we've seen for the last couple of editions of Warcry. And I don't know if it's because I've been out of the hobby for a little while, I lose so much, like, you know, concentration on how many Warcry boxes have came out recently. It just feels like loads of them. Not complaining because, you know, new boxes, new models, but it's a little bit like, I feel like when you buy one of these big boxes that's like over £100, like £120, something like that. It's one of those things where you go, well, at least this is going to last for a while. This is going to be the newest thing for this game for a while. And then a few months later, here's a new one. It's a little bit like, oh, I kind of wish I didn't buy this one if I knew there was another one coming out just around the corner. Which is a little bit sad. Because I did really like the last one as well, which was the vampires in it and the Bloodbound. Thought that was really, really cool. And I was tempted to get that, but I'm glad I didn't because a new one is coming out around the horizon. So anyway, going on a bit, enough complaining. Enough complaining about new models that I think are cool. So Nightmare Hunt also contains Might of Madness, a packed warband tome that details all the background information and rules for both warbands, including quests that your single-minded zealots, both Golden and Grizzly, can undertake. Both factions will find themselves in games of Warhammer Age Sigmar before long. With war scrolls of their own, hopefully they're okay. Some of them are, most of them aren't. More carnage, meanwhile, waits in Warcry. Violent catastrophe have risk life and limb to provide us with a roadmap of what's expected in the future. Okay. So you've got Nightmare Quest coming out in spring, so not long there. And then you've got a starter set for new players coming out in summer. So that's kind of, if you're looking into obviously getting into Warcry already, I'm just thinking with the roadmap, just like wait this box out and wait until the summer, because also like you buy this and then you buy some new rules, or you just buy the rules to play it and then the rules are going to get updated anyway. So you might as well, just wait until summer. And that's sad, really, because like I say, it's good that you had been given this notice. It could have been more annoying if you hadn't been given this notice. And then summer came along and it's like, oh, well, that's annoying. I wish I didn't buy this box set. So it's good that they have given you that notice. But again, here's a bit sad. But then again, if you're just a lover for Warcry, because it is a good game, you're probably going to maybe want to pick up this box again if you like the warbands. All this comes down to if you like the warbands. I do like the warbands. I don't like them enough to buy the box set, or because I don't like the Stormcast enough. Like, they are nice, but it's probably going to be £120 for a handful of models. You know, especially when you compare it to that massive one coming out for 40k, which is probably going to be not too much more than this, and for what you get in it, it's huge. But anyway, so we've got 4 new warbands coming out in autumn. So you've got Order versus Destruction, so quite a few for them, and then you've got 2 new warbands coming out in winter, Order versus Death, and then you've got 2 new warbands coming out in spring to be confirmed. And to be fair, like, so we had the Bloodbound last time, but I feel like, so that's like a whole year without new Chaos ones coming, so that's a bit sad. And in the meantime, you've had, unless they get, I presume they're going to be in the starter set. Okay, I imagine that's what's going to happen. But I imagine that's also going to be Order in that starter set. So that means that you've had, what's that? Like 1, 2, presumably 2 from autumn. So that's 4, and then 1 from winter. So if Chaos doesn't get anything in the starter set, you've had 5 new Order warbands in the meantime, which is a little bit sad. I do think. But, you know, it is what it is. And it's nice to see it's going to keep getting love for a lot longer. And it's a game that they do definitely support, which is cool. Like, for example, talking about Order ones, like I have bought like the Seraphon ones, for example, for me to practice how I want to paint my Seraphon models that I've got. And obviously that box set coming out. So it's a good way if you are going to start an army, because you do usually get a nice mixture of different types of models in a Warcry box. Now, if you do just want like the models of one of the armies, here, like the, for example, I want the ghouls, I want the flesh eater courts, I am just going to wait until I can buy them separately to get that. So if you do just want one thing, get them that. And if you do just want the scenery, I think they end up sending the scenery separately at some point, but maybe they don't for these smaller ones, but who knows. Anyway, so that is the Warcry stuff. And then going on with the main Age of Sigmar stuff, let's start with the Free Guild, shall we? Because they've been waiting a very long time. So, It says, the courageous cities of Sigmar cavaliers charge forth to reclaim the realms. From Ashgree to Gairan, the Dawnbringer Crusades are striking out, leaving the relative safety of the cities of Sigmar. They come to reclaim the territories lost to the horrific forces of chaos in ages past. We've already clapped eyes on the foot-slogging men-at-arms, willing to put sword to these barbaric usurpers, but there must be more than these warriors in the crusade. So what the cities of Sigmar need are swift armoured cohorts to ride in the vanguard, smiting any who oppose the will of the Heldenhammer. Luckily, they have just that. So the battlefield shakes to the sound of hooves. So new cavalry coming for cities of Sigmar. Let's have a look.
Grab a flask of Tyranid wine and join in telling the tales of our people. For in the morning, we ride to war, and we ride for vengeance!
Okay, so I'll just firstly say Cities of Sigmar, it's not really an army for me. I think, in the age of Sigmar, as it is, in fantasy, there's so many other cool races you can do, for me anyway, before you start playing as humans. But with that said, I think these look really, really cool. I think the way how they've done these knights is huge. They don't look, what's the word? Just that they don't look generic, all the same. They literally look like, quests and knights. They all look unique. They have so much character to themselves. I really, really like, and I haven't actually seen these ones yet, so I wasn't really expecting too much from, like I said, like how I feel about playing humans in the in a fantasy game. But I love these. Like, I might even have to pick up a box of these just to paint separately or to convert up to use in another army or something, because I think these are really, really nice, especially the helmeted ones. Like, I presume this is the leader here. Looks really, that stag helmet is lovely. The pose the horse is doing is really good, because these are classic models, right? Cavalry horses. We're used to essentially getting in a box of 5. I think it's probably like 2 different ways the horses can be posed. So it's nice to see. We haven't really seen anything come out since those sort of days where there was a lot of monopose things. So it's nice to see the Cities of Sigmar get some new models and some really, really cool ones. I'm loving the helmets, loving the armoured horses as well. I think they're really, really nice. Loving how much, cloth and clothing this. And again, I imagine a lot of this is just freehand painted on. So it might be a bit hard to do, but if you want to put in the extra effort and everything like that, you can really make these guys look quite special. So you've got them here. I think this is probably my favourite one. It reminds me of the Knights of More, I think it was, which are like the Knights of Death for the Empire, which are not like on the side of the vampires, very much against the vampires, very much promoting death and not undeath, and they would guard the cemeteries and stuff. I think that's a really, really cool model. This one I kind of look at and it looks like it makes this face go meh, which is, I would do a head swap on this one. I don't think it's very good, but really, really like the other ones. I think it's just like the mains are different, armoured or unarmed. I really, really like these. Really nice banner there. And again, they've all got different sigils on them, so they all come from different like knightly houses, etc. So again, like, you probably have to free paint that, like I say, but like, even if you just do like a shape or a symbol or something, that's easier than drawing a bloody horse's head or a boar's head, etc. It would still look really, really, really quite cool. So yeah, massive fan of these. Again, like, just comparing them to like they've done here, like just how much more dynamic these are compared to the older knights. But they also still, respect the older knights. Like, if you have the older knights amongst the newer knights, they're not going to fit in at all. But what they do is they give like a bit of a nod to the older design, which is nice. So it says, with the era of the beast bringing its own challenges, these hard-hitting horsemen are equipped with an armoury of weapons to shatter the shield walls of the swamp-dwelling cruel boys or pierce the arm of the hulking chaos warriors. I'd like to see them go against Chosen and see how they do. Their heavy armour and robust shields weather retaliation and provide ample real estate for each city's heraldry and Sigmarite iconography. iconography, if that's how you pronounce it. In essence, these are the classic knights of old with a dash of God King flair. Yeah, exactly that. Like I was saying, just like they give a nod to the old knights, but they just, you know, wow, just looks so much better. And then these are other ways you can build it, I take it. So this is in case you didn't give it the banner, I think, without doing a quick look at the other models. Yeah, really, really nice. You could have loads of fun with this. You could have like 20, 25 of these in an army. You could paint them all just a little bit different, that they fit into the different houses, like they were saying. It's the different cities even. It's really, really, really cool. Big fan of seeing that, you know, traditional sort of humans in the game. And just because I think, although I wouldn't like play them, like I say, because I think there's cooler things to play, it's just cool to see humans, you know, us go against the horrific horrors of Age of Sigmar, like it is, like I said, in 40k, when I was talking about the Tyranids. So it said, compared to their predecessors from the world that was, these cavaliers are more baroque and resplendent, with banners and crested helmets and unusual details such as decorative high-rise cantles and stuff. Yeah, so they're very, very decorative, like we talked about. Cities of Sigmar are gathering storm on the horizon, ready to drive back the murk of chaos from the mortal realms. They will be leading the Dawnbringer Crusades as part of the next narrative for the Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Stay tuned to the Warhammer community for more news and reveals later this year. Exciting to see. So let's see what is next. We're going to have a look at some Dawnbringer stuff, shall we? So, follow the story of 2 Dawnbringer Crusades in a new series of narrative expansions for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. One will succeed and one will fail. Okay, so that's interesting here. So it says 4 warriors of grim portent usher in the Dawnbringers, the next chapter of the Age of Sigmar. 4 warriors. Okay, that sounds like could be like the malign portents thing they did, where there was like 4 unique heroes for it. It was quite cool. So you've got the Etheric Howl of Gur has flooded the mortal realms with savage warlust and barbarous slaughter. The echoing beat of great stomp pulses in the souls of all things, turning ordinary mortals into feral savages, awakening the spirit of bestial magic. And the goading creatures great and small to wanton acts of rampage. Faced with the primal whirlwind, the Dawnbringer Crusades sally out to reconquer lands lost to chaos and stake their claim in Sigmar's name. In Hammerhall, a Dawnbringer Crusade of staggering vision prepares to leave the 2 great gates of the twin-tailed city, kicking off a new campaign series for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Dawnbringers. So let's have a look at the video.
It has been many months since the Twin Crusades set out from Hammerhall, filled with faith.
Chanting only the faithful. What was born behind no offense succeeds. Only those these are the dregs of society. Thieves and murderers.
Blazing heat of action and the impenetrable
Cursed from their very little tribes, abandoned by Sigmar, still live. Out where we might claim.
This campaign would be easy,
For the horrors
but none expected this hard.
Witches are just getting worse. We shall tell them
We are Sigmar's chosen warriors, and even we
for the dark gods demands light to the darkness.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Wasn't really telling us much, to be honest. I say it was quite interesting. I was expecting a little bit more, but basically just saying Dawnbringer Crusades been sent out to try and restore order, and maybe it hasn't been going that well for them. So the Dawnbringer Book 1 Harbinger kicks off the series, which will offer support for all the 4 Grand Alliances. It introduces the Colossal Twin-Tailed Crusade, a multi-pronged expedition that was preparing to depart across Ashkri and Dyran. At once, this campaign series will follow both crusades and their respective fates alongside any background information and rules for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So that, again, really, really cool artwork. We see that, and there's a new model coming out of the Harbinger of Decay. I have seen that, which is cool. And let's just go. Okay, let's read the little sentence and we'll get to it. Harbinger takes its name from the 4 heralds of Provence who rise promisingly. Harbinger takes its name from the 4 heralds of Provence who rise to prominence in the early days of the Twin-Tail cursed. Harbinger takes its name from the 4 heralds of Provence who rise to prominence in the early days of Twin-Tailed Crusade, each leading a warband of devoted warriors. So we've got Filq, the Meister, the Harbinger of Decay. Think so. Might have pronounced that wrong. So I think this guy, the new Harbinger, I think he's really, really cool. Again, what I say is Kavek is that Nurgle is probably my least favourite army in the whole of the game. And that's just because, even coming from a Death player, I just think they're disgusting. I think that they are absolutely foul. The gross, boils and pusses and intestines hanging out on every single goddamn model. It's disgusting. But that is completely what they're going for, and they absolutely hit the nail on the head with this guy because he is absolutely grotesque. And when you're watching it in the video and it's got that music playing and stuff, you're like, he literally is the Harbinger of Decay. He fits that name so well. And I think that, just in, like I say, in a disgusting way, that horse is beautiful. Just the way how it's designed, it nods its hat so much to, or tilt its hat is probably the better way to describe it. Anyway, it shows so much respect to the older model in the style of how it's posed with the horse with its head down. You've got the Harbinger just looking even in the same direction with the same pose, I think, with the scythe. Really, really nice. I like it on that rocky outcrop there. I think the original one had a sign as well. I really, really like this. It's not my cup of tea, so I will not be buying it, but it's the nicest Nurgle model I've seen come out for a long time. I think they've done a really, really good job on him. So it says these pestilent prophets of divine Nurgle's will, from the spread of disease through bodies and societies alike, dour and humorous in the contrast to Grandfather's usual joyful entourage. They lead Rotbringer cohorts known as Shudderhoods, joyless, committed to undertaking unholy labours in the Playlog's name. Okay, that's even quite freaky as well. Where Grandfather Nurgle, like they said, he's seen as being a generous, god to worship and all these sorts of things because he loves his children, etc. Even though it's absolutely horrific and disgusting. But these ones are just silent, which is almost very. Just the twist on that sort of natural thing you would expect from Nurgle just makes them even more creepy. Because, having this big, brutish, disgusting demon come up to you while it's laughing at your face and coming straight after. That's creepy enough, but knowing that's the norm, and then these guys are just silent, which is just, means that they really are quite sinister. So then you have the next one, which is Sir Geron Marrowscroll Herald. So this is from the Fleshier Court, so a new model for Fleshier Court. So they've got a warband and this guy. could you imagine if they got courtiers? I mean, that would have almost been just as useful. But anyway, let's see the video. So this is him. I have to say, as someone who's been waiting a long time for an Age of Sigma flesh-eater court model, and I know there has been ones in the past, like, you know, a warband or something like that, or that was that king who was sitting down on his throne. Apart from those, and someone who's been waiting a long time for him, I'm not really that excited. I feel like he could be in the same army as this guy. Like, it looks a bit too gnarly for me. Maybe it's because of the green skin, but he just looks like Gollum. I would like something a bit more like brutish and all that sort of thing for the flesh-eater courts. I mean, he's well, you know, for what he is well done. You know, he's got lots of detail going on there. He's got a really cool looking style and everything else, and he's fine, right? But I was expecting something just a bit better, or in my opinion, I thought something a bit cooler. But you know, it's nice to see a flesh-eater court model. So it says to everyone else, the herald are hunched. Three creatures robed in flayed flesh. These scabrous delegates somehow act as vectors for the madness of the carrying kingdoms, spreading and magnifying the delusions that drive them. Rumours around that the morbid messengers may even serve as ominous higher power. So that's quite interesting. So it's a little bit like, oh, what else is it, you know, foretold there? But also, it's probably going to boost your army quite a bit. So it's probably going to be quite a supportive model, which is good. But I would just love them to have done just a support character. Like, well, obviously he is a support character, but like just a courtier. Just give me a goddamn new Vargol for a goddamn new, you know, courtier for one of the other units would be really. Oh, a box of courtiers would have been great. Don't know how they would have fit that into this, you know, 4 warrior story they've got going on, but give me that now, Games Workshop. And then you've got a Frory, Grimhold Exile, so a new Fire Slayers hero. So I think he looks pretty cool, to be fair. I've actually got some Fire Slayers, got essentially a Star Collecting box, and I'm been building and painting them as like Forest Slayers, as they're like sort of like woodland themed, which is like a bit of an interesting take. So I do quite like Fire Slayers. What I will say though is they do absolutely all look the same. I'm not denying that, but this guy stands out a little bit. I think they've done it really well. I think just, you know, the way how he's really dynamic, the way how like the wind's blowing through his hair, all these sorts of things, the fire coming with his axe. I think he's really quite cool and fearsome. So I do like this guy. I think they've done a good job. It says these avatars of retribution wield weapons imbued with their magma holes. Portion of the Jacq.l, the legendary master of flame, ignites at the moment of Grimnir's death. Some seek to establish a new magma hold around their holy flame, while others undertake quests whispered to them by the Jacq.l. Regardless of their purpose, these grim and superlactive warriors will superlactive. I don't know what that means. Warriors will meet any foe in battle. Yeah, so I think they've done a good job there. I feel like his eyes are literally just black dots, but I imagine that is because eyes are awful to paint, aren't they? And this guy is just fueled with rage like a witcher. So then you've got Braggit Big Talker. So he's Rabble Rosa. So a new Gloomspite Git hero revealed, if you couldn't tell by the name. Right, I think he's really quite cool. He's got loads of character and flying squigs are back, so that's really, really cool to see. Yeah, I think he's awesome. I think he looks very much like we've seen with the, I can't remember what they're called, but they're in the picture. Okay, yeah, so I did see this, that new box sets are coming out. I just want to quickly show you something to prove demonstration what I was going to say. These guys, I can't remember what they're called, but you know, like those sort of like the box of 5 magic looking shaman guys for the Gloomspite Gits. He looks like he fits just in there, so him being like a leader of them and obviously everything else you get in this force fits really, really well. I think he's really cool. I love the sort of like, it's like mischief he's got on his face, isn't it? But definitely a very sort of cunning and sinister, evil look about him, to be fair, in the terms of not that he wants to destroy the mortal realms, but in the terms of he just wants to gut the enemy and take all their stuff. So I love him. I think he's really, really cool. I love the squig skull he's got on him. I think he's got loads of detail for such a small model as well. He might be quite interesting to paint, but probably not too bad, to be fair to you, because like lots of detail, but again, he is small and a lot of it is like just, you know, green and black, you know, colours, whatever you want to do. But I would maybe have to get him, and he comes in a big box. So for me, the situation is, do I need the other models? No, because I've got lots of Gloomspite Gits to paint in my collection already, but squigs are very, very cool at the end of the day, so you can never have enough squigs. And it's annoying me that I've forgotten what these guys are called, but I really like those as well, and I want to have them at some point as well, so this could be a good opportunity to do it, essentially. But yeah, I think that they've done a great job on this guy. Like as I was disappointed with the Flesh-Eater Quartz, I think this guy is spot on. Anyway, so attended by a swarm of bat squigs and clad in suitably intimidating squig skull headgear, these Loscurus loonies bellow commands and surprising volumes, provoking even the laziest Strogoth to shake off its torpor. A ranting rabble rosa can gather greater hordes of adequate cave critters, basically other guys, that flood the tunnels, kickstarting a deluge of destruction that spells doom for all in its path. Okay, so it's sort of like he's the guy who is, as the name suggests, is a big talk rabble rouser. So I think brilliant name as it is anyway. So essentially, when he's decided that, right, we need to start doing some things, we need to start having some fun, he will start creating a noise and then start rousing the rabble of what is a Gloomspite Gits army to come out of the cave and go tear apart the local caravan coming through the area or the town or something like that, without knocking my drink over. So yeah, I think he's really, really quite good. I think he's cool. And then it says Dawnbringer Book 1 Harbinger tracks the stories of 4 particular heralds as they clash in the wilds of Ashgree and Gairan. Alongside all that lore, you'll get rules for these 4 new heroes. Alongside all that lore, you'll get rules for these new 4. Alongside all that lore, you'll get the rules for these 4 new heroes, each of which can also be taken as a part of a unique regiment of renown, led by the herald from the narrative. Plus, there's a new Path to Glory battle pack with new quest territories, rules, veteran abilities, and 6 battle plans. Okay, that's really cool. I really like Path to Glory. Like, if I had the time, I think, to like do a Path to Glory campaign, I'd love to. I think when I've read it in the books and stuff, it looks really cool. So to see a new supplement coming from that in here is really, really nice as well. And then, okay, so I'll show the boxes as well, sure. So you've got the Harbinger Decay and the Nurgle box, essentially, with 5 Blight Kings and 2 Pascal Blight Lords, I think they're called. So that probably looks like quite a good box if you're a Mad King player. You don't have the Flesh Eater Core one, which, like I said, is not my favourite hero, and all these models are quite... I wanted to see new models come out, Flesh Eater Course. I'm disappointed that hasn't happened. So sorry if I sound like quite negative, the Flesh Eater Course, but essentially I am. I love what we're seeing in that warband for Warcry. Absolutely love that. Just wish that was on a larger scale, essentially. But yeah, if you do like Flesh Eater Course, you want to get started, you want to get going, presumably this box will be good for you, because I think he probably will add quite a bit to your army, or she will, who I can't even remember what gender it was. And then the Fire Slayers, again, they all look the same in this picture, but I do think he is a cool model, to be fair, and this could be very good for your army. I don't know too much about Fire Slayer tactics, but again, it's one of those things. So when they did this before in the Malign Portents, I complained because each one of the heroes was, I think, £20 each. And at the time then, that was a lot of money. And it's still quite a lot of money now. So I complained that they were £20 for one model. And now they've put each one of those in its box of other models. And it's like, so you get more value for money there. But at the same time, it's like, oh, if I just want the one model, I'm going to have to buy everything else as well. Which is a bit sad. But then you're not paying £20 for just one model. But without trying to moan too much, like some of those models were tiny for like 20 quid, which is like, was not a thing. So it depends how much these are going to cost, obviously. And like I said, the Gloomspite Git one I'm a fan of. I think all those models are nice, and I don't think you can have too many of them. So maybe I will get it one day. And then you've got the roadmap of what's coming for Age Sigma. So you've got Seraphon books obviously coming now, with the Dawnbringer Crusade Harbingers book 1, I think it's called, which obviously we've just been talking about, the General's Handbook. So that's all coming in the summer. That's just around the corner. And then after that, you've got the Cities of Sigma coming in autumn, so that's cool. So you'll be getting those new models that are coming, those new knights, and potentially more, and those foot squad. I think you should get more, hopefully. They've been waiting a very long time. I hope it will be similar to the Seraphon release. And then you've got Book 2 of the Dawnbringer Crusade, which is going to feature Destruction by the looks of things. And then you have got Book 3 of the Dawnbringer Crusade. And then in winter, you're going to have a new, I think that means Battle Tome when it's like that. And then you're going to have Book 4 of the Dawnbringer Crusade. So to sort of summarise my thoughts, Dawnbringer Crusade, so let's talk about the 4 new models, right? I think the best model out of all these is got to be this guy. Love the name. I love what he does for the army. I love what he does in the lore. He just says what he is in the tin. Brilliant, right? I absolutely love him. And then my second favourite out of all this is... Shame we haven't scrolled past Flesh Eater Core. I'm going to have to say the Harbinger of Decay. And if I didn't like Gloomspite Git so much, I'd probably say this one was the best. I just think it's done so well, and there's so much character to it, and there's so much, without it being like a model like, you know, going like rah, you know, and really up there in your face. It just looks a bit like sloth, a bit slouched, a bit like, you know, he's like looking over a valley or something that he's about to descend to corrupt. It's not the most like, you know, exciting, punchy sort of, you know, stance and model, but I think that just fits so much to how the old model was, and I think the horse is brilliant. I think it's a great model, I have to say, for someone who doesn't like Nurgle. Brilliant model, I have to say. Then after that, I'm gonna have to go Fire Slayers and the Flesh Eater Court one last. Like I say, I don't want to be too negative, just disappointed with that, really, essentially. I wanted something else, but talking about the book itself, so. Do I think you should get this book? I imagine some people will be asking themselves that question. This reminds me a lot of the books like Marathi, Teclis, Kragnus, and Be'lakor that came out, which was for, I can't even remember on the top of my head what that book series was. It's annoying me, I'm sure I'll remember later. But the problem with these narrative books is I'll say firstly, if you really love the narrative of the game, you really love the narrative Age Sigma, and you're going to buy each one of these books and you're going to read the narrative, you're going to fall in love with it, and you're going to play out the missions and everything like that in this book, absolutely worth it. You're probably going to get a whole treasure trove of information and fun things in this book that make it all completely worth it. But if you're a very competitive person and you want to get this for the new rules, you'll probably be able to find them online. You'll probably be able to find them like the Warhammer Wiki, etc. So I wouldn't really worry too much about that. In these books, for example, or also if you don't really care about these books going, you know, too out of date, because this where it comes into my point of view. So for me, where I don't get to play all the time and where I've been out of the hobby quite a bit, like I said lately, and getting back into it, if these books came out when I took my sort of like, you know, I don't know, 9-month break or whatever, I would have completely missed them all. It's a bit like the Arcs of Omen 40k. Like, and the problem with that is that, well, the Broken Realms, that's what it's called, Marathi books and stuff. When those Broken Realms books came out, it was like the Marathi one was good, and there's a long gap between that and the Teclis one, which I think was next. But then it was just like the next one, the next one, the next one. Like, so for example, when you get to autumn, you've got 2 coming out in the same season, then you got 1 coming out in winter, and I just feel like that's what makes it not really value for money. If they made this over, like, let's say you knew that you were going to get a solid 9 months worth of fun out of these books before they brought out anything else that's new, because they're probably going to bring these books out, and then by the time winter's over in spring they may announce the new edition of Age of Sigmar, which then makes all these books irrelevant, and then you've spent a bunch of money on these campaign books that you're never really going to use again. Like I say, if you're going to replay them, make the most out of them, love them, you don't care about the most updated rules, you're going to have loads of fun. You're probably going to have fun with them anyway, but just don't be disappointed when Games Workshop within a year brings out a new rule set that makes all the rules in these books irrelevant. The reason why I say this as well is because I've seen lately in a lot of like buy and sell groups, loads of people trying to sell like Broken Realm books for basically the same money they bought them for, and they're having an absolute laugh. Like, they're old rules. It's like when people try and resell like an old James handbook. It's not going to happen. You may feel like you missed out on money. Like, especially like I've seen people who are trying to sell like the limited edition version of these books, which I'm sure they're going to try and bring out again for the Dawnbringers, which are like £50 for one. Unless you've got all the money and you really want, don't waste it, because at least when you spend, if you want to, like a £50 on limited edition of a battle tome, you know you're going to get at least a year out of that, probably about 2 years or so. But with these, you're just going to get a matter of months. Sometimes not even that, sometimes like a month. So as much as I love the idea of these narrative books, I just discourage so much of buying them because I don't feel like they're value for money, essentially. If they went on for a longer time, like I said, they went on for like 9 months a year, I feel like, and they brought one out every 3 months, I think that would be great, because I feel like there'd be enough play in it for 3 months, and it'd be like a nice, exciting thing to look forward to next one. Not like, I bought this book, okay, in a couple of weeks the new one's coming out. It's like, oh, well, I haven't even opened it yet. It goes, all right, well, I hope you didn't waste your money too much. Like, I just find it annoying in that sense. But like, so I'm annoyed in how they release, but I think they're a lovely idea. I just wish this release schedule was a bit better, essentially. But yes, that's my thoughts on that. And then we've got something here which looks absolutely fantastic, which I did see online, which is, it says, move over, Gore Grunters. The new Morgrunter is a humongous hog who's here to slay. So, let's see.
Coming this year to the Superdome! Giant monster! Seek the Morgrunter, take on everyone! Everyone! If you miss this, you better be dead! And if you're dead, get Nagash to reanimate your soul!
That is really, really cool. I absolutely love that model. I think it's so, firstly, it's so nice just to see something come out for the Slaves to Darkness, not Slaves to Darkness, sorry, for the Ironjaws. It's really, really cool. Just to say as well, as I've recently been to Athens, and I'm pretty sure this is like the original Olympic arena from Athens that I was like at like literally like a few weeks ago. So just something that I noticed there because I took a picture of it. Anyway, I think it is that. I might be wrong. But anyway, back to Warhammer. This is beautiful. I love it. I want it. I don't even have an Ironjaws army particularly. I have a Gloomspite Gitz army, which means that I can chuck this in there. Why not? It's really, really cool. I think that this is beautiful. When you see, like, I wonder how big it is, and then you just see there's a brute riding it. There's a brute on the side of it. There's a bloody brute on the other side. It is huge. Do I think same size as Maw Crusher? Probably not. But it is really big. Like, I absolutely love it. I love the cladded armor of it. It's essentially, when I really like, because I used to collect orcs and goblins when I was a kid, and I love the idea of, like an orc war boss and a boar. And then, like, in my childhood imagination, if I can just imagine just like a, an extreme version of that, that is essentially what this is. And it's came to life, and it's beautiful. Essentially, I really, really like it. It's really, really nice. I'll be honest, I'm not going to read all the words and stuff written for this guy, because this video's gone on for quite a long time already, and longer than I originally intended, but I think that this is beautiful, and I can't wait for it to come out and see what the price is like. Like I said, because I don't really have an army for it to go into. If it's really expensive, I won't be getting it, but if it's a reasonable price, then I have to add it, because I think it's amazing, and I want to see what its rules does. It just looks so much fun to use as well. Can't wait. And then is it just the heresy? Okay, so we've got the old world, a little bit there left. I'm going to leave the heresy stuff just because, like I said, I don't usually cover it. If you do want me to cover it, obviously tell me that and I'll do it next time. But we've already covered a lot of things today in a lot of detail. But let's have a look at the old world, because the old world is kind of Age of Sigmar, and it's obviously Warhammer Fantasy. It's what made me fall in love with the hobby in the first place. So it says, Warhammer the Old World, a noble Bretonnian paladin stands up to a Tomb King. So we've already known that the undead legions of the Tomb Kings of Khemri and the Noble Knights of Bretonnia are major players in the time of Warhammer the Old World. We've seen some of the existing models given a new lease of life in the time for the game, but what of the new models? So the good news is they're coming and they look amazing. Nice to see a couple new models coming for the Warhammer the Old World. So essentially, like they said, we've got a Bretonnian and we've got a Tomb King. I'm a big fan of Tomb Kings. I do like them. I think like the only thing that's put me off is like just the green skin and stuff. But I think I would paint it maybe a bit more like a mummy. But it's maybe that's what a mummy looks like. Anyway, I think it's quite cool. I think it fits the aesthetic of the Warhammer Fantasy models. Because I think they said that you're playing with like your older models and stuff. So it's nice to see that it would fit in there. Again, doesn't look bad. It looks new and everything, but it doesn't look, like the upscale sort of things we see in Age of Sigmar. That's what I get from my point of view. And it also doesn't look like its poses too like out there, so it fits rank and file depending on how the rules are going to work. I do like the Bretonnian guy as well. I have to say, when I first saw it, I saw this picture and I thought this was his arm, and I thought like his arm, like holding up a lantern like this or whatever. It just looks a little bit funny, or I suppose it's how you hold a lantern, but like really casual with his sword here, and then like that didn't really work. So I like it that it's just like hanging off the back of his scabbard, is it? But I do really like, I think stabbing into the Orc's head's cool as well, and just him with his arm down, so he doesn't even look like he's under any threat, and basically he's a badass. So I think that is pretty cool to see, and just like that Orc's face there, really, really nice. So yeah, a couple of nice looking models. Again, the artwork for Warhammer the Old World is going to be amazing because it's a copy and paste of Warhammer Fantasy, which was incredible artwork. And it was things like this that I saw on the front of boxes and stuff that made me love walking past Warhammer store and walking in there and just staring and just being amazed at what I could see, and just that love for fantasy. So let's see what the rest they have to say. It says our first two models from Warhammer the Old World are a Tomb King from Nekahara, or however that's pronounced again, and a Bretonnian Paladin. They're both resin models, and they're the first of many we'll see before the game is out. New models for the game will be released in Citadel Plastic and Forge World Resin, and they will join a whole range of resurrected and revitalized miniatures from prior editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battles in plastic, resin and metal to make satisfying varied armies. that annoys me when it goes, to make, satisfying variant. No, just make them all plastic. Nobody wants to fucking work with resin. Everybody hates fine cast. Like, this thing's probably going to be all misshapen and everything. Like, yeah, I mean, I absolutely hate Warhammer fine cast, like Games Workshop fine cast. Like, I haven't really done too much of it lately until I bought a pack of what are they called, Urukai Berserkers for Lord of the Rings, and just how misshapen their bloody swords were it was like literally like a wet noodle essentially being weighed. But I was there for ages trying to fix it, heat up, all that sort of thing, bend it, and then it just, I mean, like I got it to look 70% better, but there's still that 30% that didn't look good. And the fact that you paid extra money for it, which is essentially it pisses me off. So it's annoying to see that they're using that for these ones. I'm not particularly surprised because I thought this was going to be a Forge World specialist game to come out, but the fact that they're like, the thing that annoys me is that they boast about it. They're like, to make your armies full of variety. No, it isn't. It just, I presume it's cheaper doing it like this or whatever. It's just, it really annoys me. But it is what it is. So we took a moment to talk to the team behind these new fantastic new miniatures. So I was really happy to find out that I was going to be working on a Tomb Kings Explained Agata. Apologies about butchering the name there. Who sculpted the Tomb King. The story is so tragic and I found it fascinating to learn all about it. They spent all the time preparing for a glorious afterlife, but thanks to a cruel twist of fate, they are forced to suffer their eternal life trapped within shriveled, mummified bodies. I wanted to capture that tragedy and the anger they must feel about their fate in the miniature, which is why he is posed in such an aggressive stance with such a ferocious expression on his face. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think they've done a good job. I don't know, like I said, the green skin, it reminds me a bit of Scooby-Doo, but it's still cool to see new Tomb King models. And then this guy, so getting to work on the Bretonnians was so exciting. Adds Adastar, who created the Paladin. I collected a small Bretonnian force previously for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so being able to add to a range that I used to play with all those years ago was awesome. I really enjoyed being able to search through older source material for inspiration. There is so much rich design language in the old army books that really inspired the design. This miniature in mind, Bretonnian knights are Sturrock warriors and perhaps just a little pompous, so I wanted to make sure that those attributes came across in the miniature by having him stand heroically over his beheaded opponent, an orc who I'm sure he bested in single combat with little trouble. And then it says, this is only the start of a flood of new models for Warhammer the Old World. Keep checking back on this very website for more news on what's coming in the meantime. There have been a ton of reveals for other games, the Warhammer Fest. You can go check out, blah, blah, blah. So that is going to be my review of the Warhammer Fest. So I imagine this video has gone on for a very long time. I can't see what the time is, but I imagine it's gone on for over an hour, if not more. But I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Apologies when I was reading it. I'm quite tired today. Essentially, I drove to Wales in the morning for work, and I drove to Wales late last night for work, and then drove back this morning. So very, very tired living in Kent. So essentially, I drove like 6 hours and 6 hours back, so like 12 hours worth of driving. But I wanted to get this video out for you guys because I wanted, like I said, I wanted to make videos for you guys. And I thought this was quite a good one. The next one coming out is going to be my initial thoughts on the Soulblight Gravelords new battle tome. I know it's been out for a little while now. Well, I say that, it's only a couple of weeks, I suppose, but I know a lot of people have done videos on it, essentially. But I wanted to give you my thoughts on it, and I wanted to give you my thoughts on this today. Apologies, like I say, I was a bit tired, and I struggled to read some of it, but I am also severely dyslexic, so forgive me on that one. And I want to hear your thoughts on what we've seen today. You've heard my thoughts. I'm quite honest in my reviews as well. Like, I'm not just going through all this going, oh my god, it all looks amazing. I love every single bit. Some bits disappointing on, but overall, really nice to see, and quite nice to talk a bit about the 40k stuff as well. So I think if I left that to last, I wouldn't have been bothered. I'd just scroll through the pictures. But really, really exciting to see from several different game systems of stuff coming out, and looking forward to coming out. And I've got lots of stuff, like I said, to keep me busy in the meantime. But I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell notification, as I am making more videos now. It means that you will keep up to date when I get a video uploaded. And let me know your thoughts on everything we've seen down below. It'd be great to hear from you. And thank you so much to my Patreon and YouTube members who keep the channel going. Those guys really do help, and they've been supporting me for such a long time, so thank you so much to them. And if you'd like to become one, there's a Patreon link down below in the description, and there's also a join button next to the subscribe button here on YouTube as well if you'd like to become a member. But with that aside, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope you're just excited as I am from the Warhammer Fest reveals. And remember, until next time, that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.